For 2 years, I've been lying to my boyfriend every single week. Not because I was cheating, not because I was stealing, but because I discovered something about him that broke my heart. And now I've created a secret so big that I don't think I can ever tell him the truth. If you've ever loved someone so much that you do something ridiculous just to make them smile, then this story is for you. For 2 years, I've been lying to my boyfriend every single week. Not because I was cheating, not because I was stealing, but because I discovered something about him that broke my heart. And now I've created a secret so big that I don't think I can ever tell him the truth. If you've ever loved someone so much that you do something ridiculous just to make them smile, then this story is for you. Before we get into it, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, what's the sweetest secret you've ever kept for someone you love? Trust me, after hearing this story, you'll understand why some secrets are worth carrying forever. Now let's dive in. I met my boyfriend 5 years ago. At the time, we were both young, ambitious, and trying to figure out where life was taking us. We clicked almost immediately. He was funny without trying to be funny, smart without constantly reminding everyone how smart he was. But one thing became obvious pretty quickly. We came from very different worlds. My family was comfortable. Not billionaire comfortable, but comfortable enough that money wasn't something we constantly worried about. His family didn't have that luxury growing up. Every purchase mattered. Every dollar had a purpose, and even after he became successful as an adult, that mindset never really left him. You know how some people become wealthy and immediately start buying expensive watches, luxury cars, and designer clothes. My boyfriend was the exact opposite. Even when he could afford something, he would spend 20 minutes convincing himself he didn't need it. It was one of the things I admired most about him, and eventually, one of the things that broke my heart. The moment this entire story started happened about 2 years ago. I had invited him to a gathering with some old friends from boarding school, the kind of event where everyone shows up dressed slightly nicer than necessary and pretends they aren't quietly judging each other's life choices. Throughout the evening, I noticed him talking with one of my friends. Nothing unusual. Then on the drive home, he suddenly said something. That perfume your friend was wearing smelled incredible. It seemed like such a random observation. I laughed. You spent 3 hours at that party, and that's what stuck with you. He shrugged. I don't know. It just smelled really good. The next day, curiosity got the better of me. I asked my friend what fragrance she'd been wearing. When she told me the brand, I looked it up, and then I immediately understood why my boyfriend hadn't bought it. It was expensive, really expensive. Not life-changing money, but definitely enough to make someone think twice before clicking add to cart. A few days later, I casually mentioned it. You should get that cologne you liked. His reaction was immediate. No chance. I laughed. Why? Because that's an insane amount of money for something I spray on my neck. The conversation ended there, or at least he thought it did. A few weeks later, his birthday came around, and suddenly, I had the perfect excuse. When he opened the gift and saw the bottle, his eyes widened. For a second, he looked genuinely speechless. Then he smiled, not the polite smile people give when they receive socks. A real smile, the kind that reaches someone's eyes. And honestly, that smile alone made the purchase worth every penny. From that point on, he wore it constantly, before work, before dinners, before date nights. Every spray seemed to boost his confidence. Whenever he hugged me, I'd catch that familiar scent and remember how happy he looked opening the gift. Everything was perfect. At least at first. Then, I started noticing something strange. The bottle wasn't emptying very quickly. At first, I didn't think much about it. Maybe I was imagining things. But months passed, and eventually, I realized what was happening. He was rationing it. The realization hit me harder than it should have, because I knew exactly why. Every time he used it, part of him was calculating the cost. Part of him was worried about replacing it. Part of him was treating every spray like it was precious, even though he could technically afford another bottle, even though he worked in finance and had built a successful career. That little kid who grew up counting every dollar was still living inside him, and that kid hated spending money on himself. One evening, I finally brought it up. You barely use your cologne anymore. He immediately denied it. I do. No, You don't. Yes, I do. I smiled. You're literally arguing with someone who sees the bottle every day. He laughed, then finally admitted it. Maybe a little. Why? He looked away, and his answer genuinely hurt. Because I don't want to run out. Not because he couldn't afford another bottle. Not because he didn't like it. Because spending that much money on himself felt wrong. I remember staring at him thinking, this man would spend money on me without hesitation. He'd buy thoughtful gifts, plan surprises, take care of everyone around him. But when it came to himself, every purchase felt like something he had to justify. That's when the idea entered my head lottery first. It was just a joke, a ridiculous thought. What if he never ran out? What if the bottle always stayed full? The more I thought about it, the more I loved the idea. So I bought a much larger bottle of the exact same fragrance, and I hid it very, very carefully. Then one afternoon, while he was at work, I unscrewed the cap and topped off his bottle, just a little, enough that he wouldn't notice. A week later, I did it again, and then again, and again. Soon, it became part of my routine. Every week I'd check the level. Every week I'd secretly refill it. The operation became absurdly sophisticated. I had hiding spots, backup hiding spots, moments when I knew he'd be gone long enough for me to complete the mission. Honestly, if someone had been watching me, they probably would thought I was running an international spy network instead of committing fragrance fraud. The funny part, it worked perfectly. Months passed, then a year, then 2 years, and my boyfriend never suspected a thing. In fact, the exact opposite happened. He became more generous with it, more confident, more relaxed, because from his perspective, the bottle was lasting forever. Sometimes I'd catch him spraying an extra burst before heading out the door, and every single time, it made me smile, because he wasn't worrying anymore. He wasn't calculating costs. He wasn't rationing happiness for a few moments. He was simply enjoying something he loved, and honestly, that felt priceless. The problem is that the longer this secret goes on, the harder it becomes to tell him. Imagine trying to explain this after 2 years. Hey honey, funny story. That cologne you've been carefully preserving? I've basically been secretly refilling it every week, like some kind of scent-based vigilante. How do you even start that conversation? Because on one hand, it's sweet, on the other hand, it's completely insane, and knowing him, he'd probably feel guilty. He'd probably tell me I shouldn't have spent the money. He'd probably insist on paying me back, which completely defeats the entire purpose. The whole reason I did it was because I wanted him to enjoy something without guilt, without calculations, without feeling like he needed permission to deserve nice things. So here I am, 2 years later, still carrying this ridiculous secret, still sneaking around with my hidden backup bottle, still watching the man I love use his favorite cologne, without realizing it has a silent guardian. And honestly, maybe some secrets aren't meant to be revealed, because every time he sprays it before work, every time he hugs me, and I catch that familiar scent, every time I see him enjoying something he once thought was too expensive for himself, I get my own little reward, a private moment of happiness, a tiny victory over the insecurity that told him he wasn't worth spending money on. And if that's the price of keeping a secret forever, I think I can live with that. Sometimes love isn't grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Sometimes it's quietly fixing a problem nobody else can see. Sometimes it's helping someone feel worthy of the things that make them happy. And sometimes the sweetest acts of love are the ones that never get credit. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more incredible Reddit stories. And tell me in the comments, should she eventually tell him the truth, or should this secret go with her to the grave? I'll see you in the next one.